This video is sponsored by Aura. Starting new things is scary, and it isn't always easy to overcome all the fears and doubts we have about being a beginner. Like maybe you think it's too late for you to start learning a new creative skill, maybe you think you're too old now, or you should have started years ago, or maybe you think you're just not good enough. I'm Mimi. I'm a picture book illustrator and digital artist now, but 4 years ago, at the age of 28, I was struggling with self-doubt about even trying to become a professional artist. I'm so glad I was able to move past that to create my dream job, so I want to spend the next 18 minutes or so telling you why you can be an artist if you want to be, why it is not too late for you to learn that creative skill that you've always wanted to be good at, and then when you do get started, how to overcome feelings of doubt and imposter syndrome. We have a lot of ground to cover, so let's get straight into part 1, why it isn't too late for you to start. First of all, let me emphasize that point real quick. It is not too late for you to start. It just isn't. I know it's scary and there's a stigma when you're an adult about starting something new, but whether you want to start learning art as a hobby, or you want to start a YouTube channel, or you want to start selling art commissions, it is not too late. I know that a lot of us feel like if only I had started a few years ago, then I'd be further along with my skills than I am now. But you did other things with that time, and that's totally fine. So the next best time to get started is now. Let's go over a few common reasons why we think that it's too late to start, because honestly, none of them would hold up in court. Reason 1, I'm too old. This is something that I hear people say at pretty much any age, so there's the first indication that it probably isn't true. We seem to be in this mindset of only associating being young with learning new skills, and then as we get older, we think we're supposed to have picked all of our hobbies and solidified our identities, so it's too late to start something new. We're taught that as adults, we should progress forwards, so starting something from scratch feels like a step backwards, even though it's often what gives us new opportunities for progress. But I think it's a sad idea that there comes an age when we stop learning new things, because we have a whole lifetime that can be filled with learning and growing. Every new day and each new year is an opportunity to get to learn something new, or get to learn more about something we've already started. We only get so many years in this life, so the longer you put off the things you want to do, the less time you'll have to enjoy them. So I think you should start new things at any age. You're allowed to be a student, you're allowed to not know what you're doing, yes, even as an adult, and you are definitely allowed to make mistakes along the way. And if you're worried that there are people who are younger than you who are already good at art or already have an art business, I want you to ask yourself why it matters to you. Why does somebody younger than you doing the same thing mean that you're too old? Because it doesn't matter what your age is, if you're old enough to have found this YouTube video on your own, then there is someone who's younger than you who's already got the skills that you want. There just will be, because we all focus on different skills at different times. The reason you didn't achieve the same things when you were younger is because you were doing other things. You have other experiences and other achievements that are also really valuable. The older you get, the more life experience you have that you can use in each new skill that you start to learn. So sometimes age is truly a benefit, especially when it comes to being creative, because you have so much life experience you can draw on. So being too old to start a new creative journey, I don't think that can be true. Reason 2, I'm not good enough. I used to think this all the time when I thought about being an illustrator, that I couldn't be one because I wasn't good enough at art to be a professional. For some reason, I was skipping over the whole part of my journey where I could learn to be a better artist and improve my skills. Once I realized that I could and should be making bad art in the process of getting better, I started drawing every weekday so that I could practice. Remove the expectation from yourself that you're supposed to already be good at the thing that you want to learn, because that's just an idea that we collect as adults that stops us from doing fun things. Part of the point of being a beginner is that you're at the beginning and not at the end, so you don't need to be skilled or experienced. You might have big dreams, and that's a wonderful thing, but allow yourself to start at the beginning and take it one step at a time. You are good enough to start enjoying the skill that you want to learn. Embrace being a bit wonky and not quite right, and embrace not knowing exactly what you're doing because it's where you're supposed to be when you're learning. So not being good enough to start, I don't think that can be true either. Reason 3, everyone else is ahead of me. We are very good at comparing ourselves to other people, even though it rarely helps us with anything. But your life is not the same as somebody else's, so there's really no point in comparing where you are with where they are. You don't know how many hours they've spent on making art in their lifetime. You don't know how much free time they have each day. You don't know their full story. Maybe they're rubbish at loads of things, and this one thing that you're comparing yourself with is the only thing that they're good at, and you're holding yourself back because of it. I'm exaggerating, obviously, but you get what I mean. You can't compare your day 1 with someone else's day 100. It's not a race. There is no competition here. If you want to be where other people are with their art skills, then start working on yours today. If you put it off just because you aren't as far along on your journey as they are, then you'll only be holding yourself back more. It takes time and practice to get good at things, so the sooner you start learning, the sooner you'll get there. And like I said before, it doesn't matter what other people are doing, it only matters what you're doing, because yours is the only life you get to live. If you want to make art, start a small business, create a YouTube channel, then you should do that regardless of whether somebody else has already started. So everybody else is ahead of me, so I shouldn't even start. I don't think that's true. And reason 4 is there isn't room for me. This is mostly applicable to social media and really any online platform, but I see all the time people saying that it's too late to start an art account on the platform they like because there isn't room for them, because the platform is already past its peak. Usually it's too late for them to start an Etsy shop because it's oversaturated now, or it's too late to start a YouTube channel because there are so many channels already. I think unless you are starting an account on Twitter, which truly is in decline, then it's not true that it's too late. Even Facebook is ancient by social media standards and can still be useful. People were saying that it's too late to start on Etsy, YouTube, and Instagram years ago, and yet new accounts are still made every day that become successful. Give it a go and find out for yourself, because so many dreams are wasted because people just assume that it won't work. But if you don't try something, you're only guaranteeing you won't succeed. Now, if you have truly done your research and what you want to do on a platform is really oversaturated, then find a way to make it work for you or pivot your plan, but don't abandon it. Be different, stand out above the rest, or use it as a learning opportunity to grow some skills for the next stage in your journey. No experience is a waste of time. There is always room for you and what you have to offer. You might have to find the right place for it and reach the right people, but there is always room. So there's not enough room for you? I don't think that's true either. I feel confident now crossing these fears off as being untrue, but I see them come up quite often and have felt them myself, so I get that it isn't always so easy to just dismiss them. Starting something new is scary and hard. We're trying to get better at something than we already are. We have a vision in our heads of where we want to be, and to get there, we have to be bad at the thing quite a lot before we get better. It's vulnerable to be a beginner, but also so empowering once you realize that you don't have to be good, you're not supposed to know things, and you are going to stumble while you learn, just like everybody else has. It's especially vulnerable when we tell people that we're starting something new as an adult, because there's kind of this expectation that we should stick to the status quo and only progress with what we already started when we were younger. We're scared of people saying things like, "What do you want to be an artist for? You can't draw." Or, "Why would you start an art business? That's not a real job." It's scary to tell people that you're learning art because what if they ask to see something you've drawn? Even worse, what if they ask you to draw them something and you're not ready? But none of those scary things are worth holding yourself back over. None of them actually mean anything really unless you let them. So ask yourself, what's the worst that would actually happen if you gave yourself permission to learn those creative skills you've always wanted to? Something that helps me with my journey is listening to other people talk about dealing with common fears, which is A, why I wanted to make this video, and B, why I want to share with you the sponsor of today's video, which is Aura. Aura is a mindfulness and mental wellness app with a huge content library, which means that you can choose the type of content that suits you. I personally like listening to stories, soundscapes, and casual things that help me be more mindful, but it also has full meditations, life coaching, sleep tracks, and breath work if that's more your thing. I'm always aiming to keep my stress low and my motivation positive, so having a library of little sound bites and mini meditations to listen to is a nice way to have a positive start to my day. Mental wellness is personal, so I like that I can personalize what categories I want to see, and there's a whole category for work wellness, which is what I listen to most, because it has some nice short talks on things like confidence, focus, and imposter syndrome. A lot of the content is nice and short, so it's easy to include in a morning routine, and I find that it's a positive way to start the day with a little extra focus. If you'd like to try it for yourself, then you can get started for free on Aura's website using my link in the description. The first 500 people to use the link will get a free trial plus an exclusive 25% off. Thanks so much to Aura for sponsoring this video. Part 2. How to deal with imposter syndrome and doubt. So you start developing some nice art skills or make some progress on your creative business, and then you start to get this niggling feeling that you don't actually know what you're doing and maybe everyone is going to find out. You might feel like you don't deserve to have an art account on Instagram because you're not good enough at art, or maybe you're not legitimate enough to have a website, and you might start to feel like a bit of an imposter or a fraud. Imposter syndrome as an artist is feeling like your art or your creative business isn't good enough, and that people are going to discover you to be an imposter. You might be worried that you can't really draw, that you don't actually deserve the amount of followers you have, or that your business isn't actually successful enough. It's not usually based on any truth, it's normally our self-doubt being a bit too loud. Being creative is vulnerable, so it's easy for these feelings to creep in and settle down. But I can guarantee you that you're not alone. In fact, I can't imagine that there are many creative people at all out there who haven't felt some of those feelings. But how do we overcome imposter syndrome to avoid it holding back our creativity? First, I think it's really helpful to try to understand our self-doubts, anxious feelings, and imposter syndrome. Where do they come from? Why do we feel that way? And why does it matter to us? Of course, if you have strong feelings of doubt or anxiety, then it's definitely a good idea to seek help from a professional, which I am not. For me at least, feeling like an imposter is kind of about identity and expectations. I feel like an imposter when how I identify myself internally doesn't line up with how I think of other people in a similar position. If I don't think of myself as an artist in the same way that I look at other artists, then I'm already out of balance. If I have a YouTube channel that starts doing well, but don't think of myself in the same way that I externally think of other YouTubers, then I'm not going to feel deserving. Part of that is how I see myself, and part of that is the expectations and assumptions that I make about other people. I think we assume that everyone else knows what they're doing, but once I realized that we're all just stumbling our way through each day and we're all just figuring things out for the first time, I started to feel a lot more relaxed. I can tell you now pretty confidently that other artists did not have things figured out more than you when they were at your level of experience. Other small business owners did not know what they were doing any more than you when they started out. It's only with experience that we really learn what we're doing, so don't expect yourself to be further along than you are when you haven't had the experience yet. And even once we have some experience, we set the bar higher and higher for ourselves and feel like other people have higher expectations of us too. So the goalposts are kind of always moving anyway. Now, I'm a big believer that thoughts turn into feelings and feelings turn into actions. If you allow thoughts of self-doubt to take over, you'll start to lose confidence and your actions will reflect that by doing less. But if you can balance those natural thoughts of self-doubt with thoughts of affirmation and validation of your achievements, you'll be able to feel more confident and deserving, and your actions will reflect that by creating more. I'm not suggesting that imposter syndrome and doubt will completely vanish, because for me at least, they pop up quite often. But I do think that if you can balance those thoughts with positive ones, remind yourself that you're exactly where you're meant to be, and look at all of the progress that you have made, then maybe you can control some of those doubts. So try to understand your self-doubts, try to challenge them, and try to balance them with self-affirmation and give yourself credit for what you have achieved. And remember that a lot of the artists that you look up to as being confident have doubts too. I certainly do, so none of us are alone in that. Part 3. You have everything you need. Lastly, since we're talking about getting started, I wanted to tell you, in case you didn't already know, that you have everything you need to start being creative today. If you have something to draw with and a piece of paper, then you can start right now with a sketch, a doodle, a brainstorm, or a plan. You don't need any special skills, you don't need natural talent. That's the beauty of starting. The whole point is that you're at the beginning, so you're going to learn everything you need to know. Here are the things that you do need to start a new creative journey. A spark of an idea, which you probably already have if you're watching this video. Some excitement or passion, which you definitely have if you have an idea. Permission to start, which you can give yourself right now. And a little bit of confidence. You don't need much, just enough to push past the fears and doubts. If you have these things, then you're ready. And in case you need a little help on the confidence front, let me remind you that you are not too old, you are good enough, and it doesn't matter what anyone else is doing. You can make your own path. Go and get started on your dreams, which I know sounds so corny, but I do mean it. Even if you don't have all of the technical tools you need for your full journey, you can still start today. Maybe you want to be a digital artist, but you don't have a tablet yet, or you want to start a small art business, but you don't have the paperwork or a website. There are so many things you can do to start your journey today and build some foundations, even if they aren't necessarily the final skills you need. If you're comfortable with sharing, then let us know in the comments what art fears have been holding you back, or what fears you've been working on overcoming. And if you have an extra minute, then leave a supportive reply on someone else's comment, and it might just give them the boost they need today. I'm really excited for you. I hope you found this video helpful for your own art journey, and thank you for listening to me for so long if you made it this far. And also thanks again for Aura for sponsoring this video. Use the link in my description to get your free trial and 25% off. Plus, consider giving this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already if you did enjoy it. And also, if you're looking for some extra guidance and community as a beginner artist, consider joining me on Patreon for access to my library of art lessons and my monthly illustration club. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!